February 24, 2022. Russia launched a war against Ukrainian territory, which Putin referred to as a military operation. This is a war that is not talked about much right now but continues quietly. Although the war continues silently, the parties keep carrying out ruthless attacks against each other. Currently, the world agenda is dominated by airstrikes initiated by the US and Israel against Iran and Iran's ballistic missile attacks, but on the other hand, the war between Russia and Ukraine is still ongoing, and this war affects the entire world, especially Europe. Europe is experiencing serious pressure on energy prices due to the Russia-Ukraine war, and with the addition of the Iran-Israel conflict, Europe is in a serious energy crisis. International Energy Agency President Fatih Birol says Europe has only 6 weeks' worth of jet fuel left. European countries, which are dependent on external energy sources, are directly affected by crises in energy-rich countries like Russia and Iran, which are also located along energy routes. After Russia's occupation of part of Ukrainian territory, the European Union began imposing heavy sanctions on Russia. This caused Russia to stop the flow of energy to Europe. After this event, Europe, searching for new energy routes and energy-rich countries, turned to former Soviet countries. Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Azerbaijan became Europe's new energy partners. The Ukrainian army, fighting against the world's second most powerful military, could not possibly carry out this struggle alone. The European Union alone is also not sufficient to support the Ukrainian army against Russia. Because European countries also have a very powerful country they trust in defense industry and defense matters, the USA. During Joe Biden's administration, the USA provided very strong support to Ukraine in terms of weapons and ammunition. After American support, weapon and ammunition aid from Europe to Ukraine also began because the USA promised European countries weapons and ammunition support as well. While European countries are giving relatively old aircraft from their military inventories to Ukraine, they are purchasing new generation fighter jets from the USA. In the early days of the war, Ukraine inflicted serious damage on Russian ground forces thanks to the Bayraktar TB2 unmanned combat aircraft it received from Turkey. As a result of these attacks, Russian convoys were forced to withdraw from many areas. At the beginning of the war, Russia thought it could take over all of Ukraine and end the war victoriously by installing a puppet government in Ukraine, just like in Belarus. In the first year of the war, Ukraine achieved significant successes with external support. Although external support continues, Ukraine has made serious gains, especially in unmanned platforms. Drone operators in the Ukrainian army have achieved considerable success on the battlefield. In the very near past, Ukraine conducted a successful operation against Russia using entirely unmanned platforms both on land and in the air. The fact that no manned platforms were used in this operation is one of the clearest indicators that modern warfare doctrines are rapidly changing. In June 2025, Ukraine launched an operation called Spider Web against Russia. The operation, which had been planned for about a year and a half, dealt a significant blow to the aircraft used by Moscow in its long-range missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. The Ukrainian Security Service SBU first infiltrated FPV drones into Russia. Then, these drones were hidden on the roofs of mobile wooden cabins placed on trucks. When the right moment came, the roofs of the cabins were remotely opened, and the drones took off to attack the bombers. Among the targeted bases were the Belaya base in Irkutsk Oblast, Olenia in Murmansk Oblast, Dyaghilav in Ryazan, and the Ivanovo Air Base in Ivanovo. It is estimated that more than 40 aircraft were hit, including strategic planes such as the A-50, Tu-95, and Tu-22M3. The full extent of the damage is not yet clear, but images release show bomber aircraft engulfed in flames. Some sources have reported that the attack caused damage exceeding $2 billion. In addition, Ukraine targeted the Moskva cruiser, one of the most important assets of the Russian Navy, with Neptune missiles and inflicted very serious damage on the cruiser, causing it to withdraw from the battlefield. At the beginning of the war, Russia launched a blitzkrieg operation and advanced very quickly on Ukrainian territory. At the same time, Belarus sided with Russia in this war, allowing Russia to enter Ukraine from the north. The capital, Kiev, was completely besieged. While everything was going well for Russia, the TB2 drones changed the course of the war. The US's weapons and ammunition support stopped Russia's advance. In fact, Russia was forced to withdraw from many of the areas it had captured. However, it is also true that Russia still controls the vast majority of the territories it seized. Although it is poor at capturing all of Ukraine, Russia remains in a very strong position in defending the Ukrainian territories it currently holds. Russia suffered serious blows from Ukraine with US support. In response, Russia changed its battlefield strategy and decided to use one of its greatest assets, ballistic missiles, more intensively. Especially with the Orishnik missiles, it rained death on Ukrainian territory. With the Shahed 136 kamikaze drones obtained from Iran, it produced cost-effective solutions against Ukraine using unmanned platforms. The war continues under the shadow of the Iran-Israel conflict, and it is still unclear when it will end. The leaders of both countries are uncompromising on any issue. On the battlefield, Russia is making some small advances. Crimea, annexed in 2014, and Luhansk, Donetsk, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia, occupied in 2022 and still under occupation. Although these territories are officially Ukrainian land, they are currently de facto under Russian occupation, and their future remains uncertain.